Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Labs Garage. Particularly in the revival video, there was a very noted squeaking sound in the front end, and we're going to take care of that today by installing new shock absorbers. The front bushings, the top bushings up here have been worn out and they were just sliding up and down, and they were squeaking and annoying me, and I'm sure annoying you. So today we're going to take care of it. Alright, so working and doing my Scarebird brake conversion on the front end, I'm currently waiting for the machine shop to machine down my hubs. I dropped them off and I'm waiting for them to tell me they're done. But in the meantime, that gives me a good opportunity to work on some of the stuff on the front end. Today's particular job is getting rid of that horrible annoying squeak. To do that, I'm going to put the new shocks on. I've already done the passenger side. I went ahead and did that one off camera for two reasons. One, the way this is parked in the garage, there's very, very little room on the passenger side, and it's hard enough for me just to work on it, much less having to figure out where to put the camera and all that. And I got a lot of room on the driver's side, so I decided to go ahead and start on the passengers. The other thing that did was it allowed me to get familiar for processing the little idiosyncrasies on the Falcon. Now, I'm also going to mention that my 64 Fairlane, my 69 Montego, and even my 79 Granada, at least the top of the shot tower looks the same. The Mustang is similar, but it's a little different. But nonetheless, the same process should work on all those cars, and with a Mustang, just with some minor modifications. But I'll go ahead and bring y'all in on the passenger side. Alright, so over there, you can see I changed those bolts down there. I'll get into why I did that in a minute, because I'm going to have to do on this side too. And other than that, I just used all the material that came with the shock. So over here what we got, I went ahead and soaked this down with some penetrating oil first, so hopefully I won't have the same problems. But these, they just wanted to spin. I could not get them to loosen up for anything. So anyway, this one and this one, move my finger so you can, these two, when I was on the passenger side, I just cut them off. It'd be nice if I don't have to do that on this side, but I'm not getting my hopes up. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do, I'll run to the other side and get my tools all left over there. First of all, I got one of these ratcheting opening wrenches. They're commonly called gear wrenches. If you don't have a set of these, they make your life a whole lot easier. I highly recommend them. Get whatever your favorite brand is. Nobody's paying me to say this at this time. So anyway, I make sure it's set to loosen. And then I just put on this top, there's a little square part of the shock absorber shaft. I like a vice grip on it. And one pretty snugly locked down. Like that. And you're going to want, oh come on. So you want to go pretty snugly lock that down. I'm going to use it so it's binding up on the fender. Just loosen this up. And if that don't work, Since I'm not reusing these, you can just zing it off. And if you're just looking for the fastest way to get it off, use a def wheel. There now, got that off. Now, see if we can have a little better luck getting these bolts off. If I remember right, they were 1/2 inch. Looks like this side's going to be a whole lot more cooperative than the other side was, at least on these. And that is a blessing. Clean my debris out. Oh yeah, putting the penetrating oil on these made all the difference. And the third one. Alright, the back one was stuck just a little bit. That's okay. We'll get it up completely off. So now you just go to the bottom and you remove your bottom bolts. Alright, so the bottom part of the shock absorber is down here at the bottom of the spring, just above the ball joints. And they are slightly challenging to get to, but not awful. Just take a 1/2 inch socket wrench, just like this. Alright, so got the front one off. The back, you just put, I think this is a 6-inch extension I'm putting on here. Also, when you're going up under the cars like this, it's always a good idea to make sure you got firmly supported on appropriate jack stands. You should never work on under one of these cars with a jack alone. I don't know if y'all can see me or not, over just my hands, but I'm laying on the ground up under it now. And this is just, it's not that difficult to task, it's just difficult to see what you're doing. See if there's any way I can adjust this to you. Alright, so it's, my hand's down here, and the wrench, let's see if I can get y'all around anyway. It's just real hard for me to show you. Alright, so you got the bottom bolts out. You just lift your shock out. Now this is much better than the one that was on the other side, because the one on the other side came out in 2 pieces. But yeah. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is get my new shock prepared. And to get the new shock prepared, it's not a difficult job at all. Take your shock, put one of the big flat washers, cup side up, put it down the shaft. Then you take one of these big rubber bushings that came with it, and you'll see on this side, see if I can show you, it's a little thicker of a second round part, I don't know what it's called, than that side. The smaller one goes towards your nut, and the big one rides in the center of this. And I'll just show you all another thing. Right here, you can see where this has been loose, had been installed properly, and the shaft rubbing up and down there rubbed a bit of a notch right there in my shock tower. This was much more pronounced on the other side, but both sides are like this. Anyway, once you got this thing made up like this, slide your shock tower on. That piece of rubber fits just inside there nicely. Take your other rubber bushing, put on top, this time with a big raised part facing down. Put your metal washer on top. Actually, what I'm going to do this time is, I don't ever want this to come out. And one thing I found is, despite my best efforts to keep it from having to do it, I had to cut the last ones off. And to keep it from coming out, I'm going to put some of the red Never Come Loose juice on the threads. There. Just spin around it, try to get the coverage even. Stick my washer down. And somewhere or another there's a nut that goes on top of this. I may have left on the other side where I was working. Let me check. What in Moses' name was that? Anyway, got all that on there. Now I'm going to take my nut. I'm going to thread it down. Like so. I'm not going to get too carried away right this minute. I'm just going to thread it on there so it holds this well. And also while I got it, I'm going to take the nuts and the metal washers off the bottom. And the rubber bushings, well, that one came off with it. This one I'm going to have to physically separate. So anyway, you keep your top ones on there because it goes like yay. Keep these rubber ones on, but you take the other ones off. You go ahead and you drop this in place. Oh, hold on, forgot a step. Alright, let me move y'all around here. Alright, so right here in the shock tower, my choice, and like I said, this is entirely my choice, was to change out to new carriage bolts. And for this I used a 5/16 by 1.25 inch. And like that one there is sitting on top of spring rubber, it's going to sit there. There are some grooves in the actual shock tower of a car that fit the square part right here of the carriage bolt perfectly if you get 5/16. Alright, so this one's going to need a little encouragement. That's alright. I got a tension getter right here somewhere. And this one, oh, a framing one. This is a real tension getter right here. I'm just going to take my tension getter Alright, the 6 of those bolts I've had to put in, that's the only one I've had to use that tension getter on. One over there I had to be real careful it didn't fall in. But if you gotta be careful not to let it fall in, do that. And this is why I decided to leave this loose for the time being. Because I'm going to go and drop this, make sure everything lines up. Alright, if you do happen to accidentally knock one in like I just did, it's not that big a deal to get it out. All I did was I took my hammer handle, stuck it down here, knocked out the side of the spring. But looks like I may have to finagle that one in too. Alright, so we got the tops lined up. Now I gotta crawl under and line up the bottoms. Alright, so down in here, I can reposition any better. I'm going to I'm just going to go down here, try to get the bottom set. See what I can do about this. And just like the other side, need just a little more thread. So to do that, I'm just going to lightly, because I don't want to pick up a whole car in this. Just going to take some weight off the, I'm just going to compress the spring up a little bit to make sure that I got as much thread right here as possible. I don't actually want to pick up the car off the jack stands. And down here, the rubber bushing, I put the bigger end up. The flat washer. I take the nut, which for this brand of shock is a 1/2 inch. Get it fed up there. Now this is not the easiest thing to do. It's just an accessibility issue. The way these old cars are compared to the modern cars, I really shouldn't be crying about accessibility at all. Alright, so I got that started. Finger tight. And now, it's a regular 1/2 inch wrench. Make sure I set to tighten. And cinch her on down. On this one, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting the socket to sit on it like I want. So, use an opening wrench just to cinch it down. Alright, that's that side. Now I'm just going to get the nut, the rubber washer, and the metal washer, and do the back. And putting the one on the back is the same. It's just a little harder yet to see. But that's alright, we'll get it. So I got it finger tight. One cool thing I'm noticing while I'm down here, that's a brand new ball joint. That's some good news. Alright. The bottom of this shock absorber is mounted. Now we just gotta do the top. Alright, now what I did on the other side, and I like my system, is with these shock tower bolts, I put just a regular nut on them, no lock washer, no vinyl nut, and I know some of y'all probably screaming right now, no, never come loose juice. I take them like this, I tighten them up. Just hang with me. You'll understand why I'm doing it this way in a minute. I'll be happy to explain that. Because there's just no way for me to get a wrench or anything on the back side of these and hold them, I want the nuts to go on just as smooth as possible and tighten down. So that's why I am not putting lock washers or vinyl nuts or the ones with a starred base on them. I'm not putting any of that on. But I have a system that will keep it from coming off. Just hang with me. Trust me for a minute. Now just tighten that up. Give it all the ooga-doogas. Now, here's how I'm going to keep them from backing out. I also got some vinyl lock nuts. And I'm going to put them right on top. And I chose not to do this initially because once they bind up, I'm real liable to have a shaft spin. And with no way to hold the bottom, I couldn't risk that. So just get these on, tighten them up. And the two of them together bind up and hold it just as tight as you want it. Now, you don't have to do it this way. I mean, there's lots of ways to do it. This is just the way I came up with. And I have faith in it. don't see why it won't work. Alright. And finally, the big one. So I'm going to go back to using my vice grip here in just a second. Now the new shock, the top bolt's a 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to get my gear wrench, and as much as I can, making sure I'm not spinning the shaft, I'm going to tighten it up. Alright, now it's starting to want to spin. We don't want that. So I am going to take the vice grips again, lock onto the shaft, and cinch down good. Give this little flat part of a shaft up here. And this is why I'm using a gear wrench for this. And tighten her down. And just like that, we have new shocks on the front of this Falcon. Well, thanks once again for tuning in to an episode of Two Lamps Garage. As you can see, this is a fairly simple project, changing the front shocks on these. And I really believe, though I hadn't tried it, but I've looked at them, that most Falcon base cars, which include Fairlanes, Torinos, Mercury, Meteors, Montegos, Mavericks, Comets, what else? Granadas, Monarchs, Lincoln Versailles, I believe, even uses those. Any of those cars should use the same method. In fact, I even noticed that some of the other cars I mentioned use the same part number. So, also, very similar on Mustang. The only difference is, I wish I had my Mustang here, I'd show you. The top part where I got a single bolt coming up through the middle here, it's got a shaft that goes this way and bolts down like that. So, similar, but a little different. I don't know why they made the Mustangs different. I don't know why they put 4 and 5 lugs on the 6 cylinders and 8s. But I'm sure they have their reasons. So anyway, please like and subscribe. I'm always trying to get more content. I'm always trying to get better content. I'm also out to show you that somebody that's got no training at all can work on these things. If I can do it, you can do it. So like I said, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. Just takes a second. Really helps the channel a lot. At one time I didn't understand that, but I understand it very clearly now. But anyway, I hope to see y'all again soon. I've got more content coming on this car. Machine Shop gets my brakes ready. I'll have them on there. Also, once I get the brakes done in the front, I'm going to flip the car around so the back's facing the door. Got some work to do on the rear brakes. Go change the gas tank, rear shocks, all that kind of stuff is coming up. So take care. Have a great day, and I'll see you again soon.